us. We have a trained clinical psychologist who's joining us today, talking about one of our, a topic which I'm sure affects all of us at one point or another in our lives. Kanika, thank you so much for joining us. Uh, a quick introduction about yourself before we get started.
Hello.
A quick introduction about yourself before we get started.
I'm a clinical psychologist. I have done my MPhil in clinical psychology, and then I have worked with couples and families, and this is the area of psychology that interests me the most.
Okay.
And yeah, um, uh, looking forward for this discussion.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, Kanika, again, Siddharth is here as well. Hey, Siddharth, thanks for
Hi
joining.
guys, hi guys.
So, very quickly, let's get started with this. If anything, the COVID time has actually made us a lot more mindful about the state of relationships in India specifically, because I feel as a country we are complete workaholics. Rarely do we end up really, spending time or thinking about relationships and all that. So, can you just take us through, this transition which has taken place, and also what are some things which have got highlighted during this pandemic time, specifically with regard to Indian relationships?
So, as you rightly said that as Indian population, we are very workaholic, and we have always been up to like what's next. But pandemic changed that scenario for us. Like we needed to plan something else in this COVID time. Second thing that came, which happened in most of the households, were like fusion of boundaries between, like for example, if we take example of couples, and different kind of relationships got affected differently. For example, couples who are married and staying together, they got affected because earlier the husband and the wife, they were going out for work, but later on now what is happening is, at least one of them is staying back at home, or both of them are staying back at home. So there's fusion of work boundaries as well as personal boundaries. So there is like then the stress, the work stress, as well as the burnout, which is basically emotional disconnect, get increased, because earlier we used to get an escape. Okay, this is the domain of work. If there is a fight happening in husband and wife, there was an escape. They would used to go to office, they used to work, and they used to come back. But now what is happening, they have to fight in the same environment, they have to resolve in the same environment, they are not getting an escape out of it. And that impacting not only their personal life but also their professional life. They are coming in the work, when they had the fight in the same room, and they are coming through online through work, and that is also getting impacted, and because of this, impacting their overall quality of life because of the same. So yeah, this is the change that is happening that I mostly saw. Other than that, uh,
So I want to
couple-
jump in here, Kanika, just a minute. And
Mhm.
like you mentioned, right, that uh, pehle there was an escape. People went for work, so they could get an escape from the fight that they had in the morning or whatever, and then come back and then resolve it however they want. But now that's not the case. Like now everyone, like where they're all staying at home, and अभी झगड़ा भी हो जाए तो मतलब तुरंत आपको काम भी करना है उसी उसी इंसान के साथ, और you have to get maybe
Mhm.
have some meal also with them, and
Mhm.
also at the same time keep doing your work professionally, right? Not let that get affected. So what do you suggest people do when in these scenarios? Because we all know it, how difficult it is for someone to have a fight and then again right from the next moment be normal with that person. It's just counterintuitive as human beings, but it's the reality right now, right? It's the need of the hour. सबको करना पड़ रहा है. So what would you suggest? How should people navigate this?
Especially for the couples who are staying together, I
Yeah.
think working on their own boundaries are very important, especially at this time, because they need to feel accomplished in at least one domain, even if they are having a fight. Okay, when I meant like, okay, they are going out and they are working, I didn't mean that okay they get to escape and they don't have to deal with it.
Mhm.
The thing is that they can work on another domain, feel accomplished, and look after other domains of their life, and then come and resolve their relationship issues as well. Second thing that comes is like, how they can be helped is uh, when given space to each other, even if they have fought. It doesn't mean that okay we're not going to talk about it and put the thing under the carpet. What they need to do is do their emotional regulation. Okay, and it not necessarily need to happen with the other person. Working on other domains is also important. If just like an empty glass cannot pour water to someone else, you have to deal with your level of, you have to increase your level of quality of life. And that will only happen when certain rules, certain boundaries, that these are very small things. As a like when couples come to me, initially what I suggest is small boundaries exercises, like uh, you know what, do this thing that work time you have to change a place, like personal space will only be in bedroom and drawing room will be kept for the personal professional work. And I know these are small things, but at this time we can't go out, so we have to, and dress up. Okay, when they are going out of the work, just dress up. And how they used to go for office, they need to go for this, even if there is housewife making food and putting it in tiffin and giving it to. These are very small things, but these are cues that remind us that other than these domains, other than domains of relationship, there are other domains that both partners in the couple have to deal with. So initiating with these cues does help. It sounds that it doesn't, but I have seen that these uh, um, uh, cues in the environment helps establishing boundaries for both of them.
So, adding on to what you just said, I'd like to know at different stages of a relationship, or people are always in different stages of their life. Uh, Talking about, say, a newly married couple, a couple which has been there for very long, someone who's single who probably wants to, find someone. How have you seen this entire lockdown and all these things affect all these kinds of different people?
Okay. Can you please repeat your question? I'm so sorry. Can you repeat your question, please?
So, what I wanted to ask was, like, at any given point, different people are in different stages of their relationships. Someone is still looking for someone. Someone recently got married, or probably, got engaged. But because of all these restrictions, it's getting harder and harder to maybe connect. Someone who recently got married has no experience living with his partner, and all of a sudden, you have a permanent roommate. And someone who's been in a relationship for a very long time, but routine needs to be established, and now that routine has been completely flipped over. So there's people at different stages in their relationships. I'd like to know, how uh, this entire situation has affected people in different stages of their relationships.
So it has obviously affected all of, like, for example, no one ever prepared us for pandemic. No one could have, and because of that, we are, which could also be seen as an opportunity to question our own conditioning. But people who has for example, you said that people who just recently got married and they like suddenly found a permanent roommate, and now they don't have, like, it's, they can't schedule it. Okay, I'll spend 2 hours, then I'll spend it, I'll go for a walk, or I'll do this. Or for someone who was actually pursuing someone, and their conversation came to a level where there could have happened a relationship, they could have gone for a date, but because it was settled at that time, and at that time pandemic hit, there's no answer beyond that, because for that you need to the next stage is meeting someone. And that's why at this uh, uh, phase, what I noticed is people got physically distanced, but socially very, they came together. And thanks to social media, and they are getting so close together that they were not, it's surprising, they were not that close earlier. Now they are so approachable now, because earlier there would have been demand from one partner at least that, okay, you know what, meet me, you were pursuing me. Now there is like government restrictions, how can you do that? And the easiest thing, and there's, the expectations, for example, unfortunately males have that, this this thing, initial stages of the relationship men has to provide. Now suddenly, because we are in a stage of pandemic, we became equal in those, this thing. It's not that men has to pursue more and he has to go out of his way. It became okay, both of them have to do a video call. Where to go further than that? And same as like someone who just got married, they are getting an experience of, like for example, 5 years in 1 year of pandemic, because they would have spent this amount of time together in maybe 5 years, and now they have to spend the same time in 1 year. Like it's like, even if you don't want to tell your partner that you have a guilty pleasure of watching a particular series that is looked down upon, it, you can't even hide that kind of a thing. Leave hiding anything else. So it's like, and at this time, that's why it's became much more important to withhold the boundary and become assertive about, okay, you know what, I know you know everything about me, and not necessary that you're gonna like everything about me. No matter how much you're attracted to a person, no much how much you head over heels for someone, but it cannot be possible in reality that you like everything about that person. So you need to be assertive that, okay, I can't be a part of it, but I would like to be a part of these things, because I like this about you. Okay, and instilling boundaries in a way that I like these things, but I want to do this by myself, so that they feel accomplished on that. Their individuality also grows, because if you'll not grow individually, your relationship will also not
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
grow. Yeah.
Interesting. That's a very interesting answer.
Okay,
So,
so I I
yeah, go ahead, Siddharth.
wanna I wanna get to this a very basic question, okay, Kanika, and we also spoke about this previously when you were supposed to come online, come to the podcast. Is that what are the few things, like few basic things जो आपको लगता है कि anybody who wants to get into a relationship or is in a relationship should know, that these things you should be aware of these things for a happy relationship to exist, or for a relationship to work out, or for it to run in the long run. Like, what are the few things that you think everybody should be aware of?
Okay. And more than few things, I want to say one thing, that they need to be aware of themselves. Okay, they need to be very very aware, and uh, it's it's
Please expand on that. No, like,
okay. Okay.
we hear this a lot, right? That you need to be aware of yourself, but people don't really get it. That what exactly does one do to be aware of oneself?
You you need to have awareness about yourself. Awareness will bring acceptance. Like for example, there are certain things that I can't do. For example, as a woman, a condition, cultural conditioning expect me to know how to cook. Okay, I don't know how to cook, and am I okay with that? Okay, leave the fact that, okay, my partner would want me to cook. Do I like to cook? Okay. Then it's a small, very small example. Okay, for example, I like to go out alone. Do I want my partner? Do I want my partner to accompany me all the time? I need to know that about myself. And knowing that, do I like that about myself? Don't like about myself? Whatever it is, do I accept about it? Because
Right.
if I'm not, okay, I will find it reasons to believe that my partner likes me only because of this, because I am doing so much.
Okay.
You need to know that you are showing love because this is gratifying your need also, your need to give love. You need your need to provide for that. Okay, not because society accepts you, because I accept you. Because now, when we are in a close confines, there are a lot of societal influence we will not be influenced from. Okay, we will not try to reach to a societal standards of a wife, of a husband, and we need to make our own standards. So knowing ourselves, liking ourselves, and growing ourselves will make us grow in a relationship. I would not be okay. For example, I'm sitting at home. Okay, and I'm getting bored. Okay, and so many people are getting married, and I'm like, uh, uh, for example, my parents also say that, you know what, why don't you get married? And I'm like, I don't know at this point, am I bored or I really want a companion?
Right. Right.
So this is what I need to work on
That's a
before.
very, very important question to ask
Yeah,
yourself.
I swear,
exactly.
I never thought about this. Interesting. Okay, please
So
continue. Sorry.
yeah, if I'm in 40, if I'm in 50, this societal norm of I need to get married because everyone else is getting married and this is supposed to be done will not take you anywhere. The rates of divorce, like I myself have seen familial conflicts and like you'll not believe, like within 6 months people are thinking of divorce now. Within one, the divorce, and especially for the weddings that has happened in COVID. Okay. Because maybe it happened because of societal standards. Maybe it
Right.
happened because the work on the self was not done enough. Okay. And because obviously, when you get into a new scenario, okay, there are new opportunities for growth. There are new opportunity to work on yourself. They are not recognized in a close confinement with one person who's telling you, I want this from you. At the
Right.
point where you don't know what you want from yourself, obviously there will be a point where you would like to break all the chains and you're like, you know what, I don't want to be in this relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Absolutely. And this very nicely leads to my next question. This is talking from personal experience. I was exposed to two kinds of relationships. So, what do I mean by that? The first kind of exposure I got was looking at my mom and dad, and it was a proper Indian relationship. Uh, you're talking about, arranged marriage, barely any meetings, very young age they got married, even before they could form opinions and all that. And the second kind of relationship I was exposed to was what I saw on television from specifically a lot of Western shows. And it was something very different than.
Yes,
So I'd love to understand,
your voice was
that
cracking.
entire.
Can you repeat on the second type of relationship that your voice was cracking in between? Yeah.
I'm sorry. So the second type of relationship I was what I got exposed to from a lot of the Western television shows, a lot of the movies. In fact, a lot of the writers who ended up, creating shows in India came from the West and brought that kind of a relationship. So can you talk about a little bit about the difference of relationships in the Indian context and how it differs, and like, because it's so different in my head, I don't know what's right, what's wrong a lot of times. So how am I supposed to think about uh you know making decisions or being in a relationship and all that?
First of all, it's like three questions in parts. So I'm gonna address that way only. Okay. And it's very, very vast thing. Okay. I'll try my level best to answer that. First thing is, you said that about your parents. See, your parents were not born and got married, and a lot of other things are kept aside. One thing, pandemic. And that shakes up our all conditioning, all belief, and it's not. We have to change the way that we are seeing the relationship. because we are not yet in a post-pandemic era. We are striving towards post-pandemic era, and I think it will not achieved until we are 2025 or something like that, in 2025. So, and we are still, post pandemic comes, people start talking about post pandemic, and then another variant comes and all that. And the thing is that we have been not only vocally, not only verbally, conditioning, like how we see the whole world, how the lens to see world is made through our parents. Okay. At that time, the cultural impact was much more on uh, influence on the adapt to for women to adapt more. Woman has to listen, woman has to be a good housemaid, woman has to take care of how if a lot of people, like, oh, behind every successful man there is a woman, and all these things. Okay, and no one talked about how much pressure woman goes through that. Okay, at that time, most of the our parents stage, there was never a question when husband asked, like, what, kids needs you, why don't you become a household housewife, and take care of. There's never question asked. Oh, it's been asked from me, I will do it. Every time there used to be a conversation about anything in the house, the final say used to be of the husband in the house. Okay, and things were going fine. I'm not saying that was a wrong way. It worked for a very, very long time. So it had some goals, something in that it worked. Okay, but what happened is, when we saw that, okay, especially for men, it's difficult at times, okay, to look at. I'm not saying that men are not getting progressive, they are, okay, but still, now and then, I keep on hearing, oh, you know what, this person you're getting married to is so progressive, he's gonna allow you to work. And
That is
that
so
thing,
fucked up. That is like,
that
I
thing,
swear
okay,
that triggers
every
me
time.
By
so
the way,
bad.
Yeah.
one quick thing to you, Kanika. You can drop any f bombs on the hilltop. We
Okay.
have
Yeah,
no
yeah. And you
censorship
don't have to
policy
be
at
so
all.
so formal, dude. You can switch between Hindi and English. Like, each, this is
So,
nobody's judging you here.
so yeah, that's very fucked up. I completely agree. But please continue.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen my friends do that, and I've pointed it out. I'm like, who the fuck are you to allow her or let her to work? Like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So I think the time will come soon where someday, like, I've never heard, even if woman is much more earning much more, and still it is difficult. It is always, it was for marriage. If parents are looking for their daughters, groom for their daughter, they would be like, okay, you know what, he's earning this much, and it was always given, okay, he's earning more than me, that's good. But now, and you will not believe this, girls, and this has happened with lot of my uh, colleagues, people who, girls, women who have PsyD, women who have PhD, they're like, they told me that it's difficult for them to find a partner because you are much more, studied so
Accomplished.
much, and uh, still such comments I've listened to, that पढ़ाई लड़कियों का दिमाग खराब कर देती है, and
Yeah.
they are much more aware of their rights. I'm like feminism, I'm not saying feminism is not that we are against men. We are not. And it can't, the world cannot run if both the genders will be against each other. We have to work in composition. Okay.
Yeah.
But these slight things which happened earlier, because women were, expected, and they were okay with that. I'm not saying they, like, lot of them liked being a housewife. A lot of especially my mother, for a very long time liked being a working woman, and later on, I guess we were not that great in studies or whatever. We were too mischievous. So she decided to like become a stay home mother. But that was a choice.
Right.
We
That's
don't
also
know, but at that zone, we don't know that choice was made or expected out of her.
right.
Okay. So this how we see our fathers, how we see our mothers, that small things like our fathers very rarely, you know, wash utensils, cook food, and this is expected. And this is nothing is wrong that men today are having difficulty in adjusting to that. It makes complete sense. And then the universe brought COVID, and now both of you, because there's no housemaid, nothing is coming. Now
Right.
men are trying, and this is, you want to grow, you want to evolve, you need to change the pattern, you need to change the conditioning, especially in reference to Indian media. Okay, as you rightly said, that it has romanticized so much that women need to be protected.
Yeah, that the damsel in distress and all of that.
Man has to
Oh God.
provide, and not even women. Okay, men. Why
Right.
men has to provide? Has anyone asked a man from a very like, it's so unfair till now on shadi.com, on very lot of marital matrimony portals. It's uh for women, it's the, beauty and how fair she is or how good looking she is,
The
and
fair
for
and
men,
lovely model.
yeah, yeah. And I will tell you how things are changing. Okay. Now, in matrimonial portals, there was like earlier, there was like a woman has to tell the color, it was dark or fair. Now there is a option of B-test. I still don't understand what the color of the skin will tell about the person as being a good partner, but still, at least they are putting B-test that okay, this is considered recognition. Okay, fine. The thing is that we are romanticizing in a world where um, no one tell us, nor our parents, nor our media, that the actual struggle starts when we get into a relationship.
Right.
And the
Right.
problem is that we stop chasing that person when we get into a relationship. So
Oh, right.
when we get when, so I always say that never stop dating your wife. Never. The moment you stop dating your wife, you like, because your conditioning is so strong, it's years of conditioning. It's like your generation before that generation, your generation before that generation. So it has this mindset has been, and if you have to challenge, lot of time men and women will have trouble. I have trouble, lot of men also have trouble. Then like sometimes I get, okay, it's so difficult to be a feminist, like it was so easy that okay, I could have been a person who like expects men to provide, because this is a conditioning. We do get into a loop. It's not that it's easier said than done.
Hmm.
And at
Right.
that time, nor parents nor media tell us that, okay, at least one month after the wedding, there will be a lot of things said and heard about each other's family that will not be okay to be heard by either groom or bride.
Right.
And we need not to defend, we can express our views without being scared that this relationship will break. And especially women,
Right.
think that okay, and if it will not come today, it will come after 6 months. And there's a very famous movie Pyar Ka Panchnama, and they say it as आज नहीं बोलेगी, and she will bring, okay, ये बड़ा मुद्दा है, इसको बड़ी लड़ाई में यूज किया जाएगा.
Right.
And it's not that. It's what is happening is, at that time, women always told, when a man is getting angry, you have to keep quiet.
So
But
that's
that doesn't mean
conditioning.
that issue.
This
Yeah,
is this
exactly.
is very interesting actually. I want you to talk a little bit more about some of these conditioning aspects specifically related to the Indian context. Like some of the things which you're telling, I've seen it happen. I never thought that it was conditioning. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things that are obvious, things that we see happening, but nobody's aware that it's a result of conditioning, right?
And
It's
I
not
also have a
natural
question
behavior.
here. Like, what's the okay? So, from an engineering perspective, when we're doing a quality, I'm an engineer. So, when we do a quality test, you have a control. Like, you have the that's like the standard. So, this like, can you tell me how conditioning in Indian relationships is skewed, and like, what is that standard which we're comparing against? If that makes sense. I know it's hard because you're talking about relationships and not length
Standard
or
we
breadth.
are still making. There's no standard. It's context basis. It's there,
Okay,
there is no standard, and that's where we went wrong on the first place. That we were striving to achieve some standards. Okay,
Right.
and we are building standards for ourselves, and these standards that we are building for needs to be dynamic. They can't be static. With your growth, the standards that you want to achieve, keep on, because it's not when you married a person, it's not that you have to be only each other's husband wives. You have to be each other's best friends. You have to be each other's traveling companions. You have to be each other's parents. You have to be each other's safe place. There's so many things that you have to do. Okay,
right.
and with every step your dynamic get evolved, and so is your standard. And if we are going to run towards a fixed standards, we're gonna end up where we initially started with.
Interesting. Okay.
So
So yeah,
what's
like,
your
what are some more
next?
conditioning examples which you were saying, about Indian relationships?
There are a lot. Like for example, you said there are a lot which are very observable. They are very, for example, if like for example, it's expected when any male, be it a son, be it a husband, any male comes, it's expected either they'll call their younger sister or their mother, can you get me a glass of water? It's expected, and it's seen in every household. Okay, I'm not saying that a woman cannot do that. How many times have you seen a woman coming and telling this to to a son who's working, not a son, like younger sons, okay, obviously, who's working, who's independent, and telling, can you get me a water? They will also say, tell this to your her daughter only, no matter at what time she has come from work, even if she has come from work after she has after mother has come, then only it would be asked from her. And it's not a big thing to get a water. It's not. Okay. If my mother tell me to get water, I will get it. It's not this, but it's about being aware. Why I I I I have difficulty in asking my any male in my family. It's a very small thing. For example, if I want something, uh, like I want someone to get something from market, it's always that it is asked from a male.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why can't I ask my daughter to, get this thing from, even if it's far? And simple as that. Why, if a daughter is going to party or something like that, she is asked to, okay, even if the most progressive families, okay, send me numbers, where are you going? All these things, okay, she has to say 2 days prior or 1 day prior, but uh, the son of the family, they can leave at that moment without, at times, without even telling, okay, I'm going. Where? Nothing. No, nothing is asked. Where? What you're going to do? Nothing. I'm going. That's all. And the daughter on the same hand, and you all have seen these things.
Yeah,
Okay,
we've seen
I
it
know.
happen with it at our own households.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they don't allow the daughters. They do, but again, they allow daughters.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
And
And
I would
my
actually.
father is gonna be like this with me. I will expect the other because he's gonna be a prototype of all the male,
Mhm.
Right.
and I will know that okay, this is how I behaved with my how conditioning was. This is how I behaved with my father. It worked fine. I was a happy child. Okay, this is how I need to. I why will I challenge? I know this worked. Why will I challenge this with my husband? I will not.
And
And
you'll
this is
also
where conditioning brings out the same patterns again and again, and we don't want to even challenge it because
Mhm.
the moment you challenge it, it's gonna be difficult.
right.
Right. Okay.
So
Moving on, related to conditioning itself, of course, but I'd love to understand of uh, some sorts of examples or conditioning which end up happening at the in two specific contexts. One is in the beginning of relationships, and second is in arranged marriage contexts. How does a person who's still a young adult who's just got into his own, uh, in the arranged marriage context, what are some conditioning with a boy or a girl are exposed to repeatedly, which can really skew or affect their relationship in the future?
Okay. So
yeah,
I'm not gonna stereotype here. There are a lot
adding
of
just adding to what Nikhil said, I like also there's this thing, right? When right he mentioned in the beginning of a relationship, so there are these one thing is there's a lot of conditioning that appears, right? That exposes each other, like there's so much conditioning, people are not aware, that's all, but it's a lot of the behavior comes out of conditioning. But there's also a lot of behavior that sets unrealistic expectations at the beginning of a relationship, right? Which sets some unrealistic standards which are not met eventually, and then people get disappointed with each other, that at the beginning it was so rosy and now it's not. So how should couples deal with that, or how should couples be aware that from the beginning only don't set unrealistic expectations or standards, or like how should couples navigate this expectations game?
we all know we are not aware of honeymoon period, right? So we should see honeymoon period as honeymoon period and not as the reality check. First of all, very, very important. Two people met each other as human beings. We are tend to surpass when the attraction is so high, when the passion is so high, and we will look past our flaws from each other. It's given. Okay. And plus, initially there is lot of physical bonding, lot of sexual intercourse in the phenomena in that. Okay.
Right.
At that time, lot of things are not known about each other. Only how your body is reacting to your body. Okay,
Right.
which is very organic, and we need to keep that aside, and we need to see that okay, after 6 months, 8 months, when things calms down, I can't expect that she's gonna be like this, but this is also a version of her.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that she'll not break down. Okay, she will not have bad days. He will not have bad days. He for he hasn't got angry till now. 6 months. Today is the first time he got angry. How can he does that? Yes, because today is the first time he got an opportunity. He felt safe to show you his vulnerable side.
Right.
And I'm not saying you withstand that anger. I am saying at least witness that, because someone, it's like you have to regulate each other's ups and downs. It can't be okay, it was so rosy initially and now you're changed. The person doesn't change. Situations keep on changing, and you can't be in that bubble, that honeymoon period bubble gonna stay for some time, and then life happens.
Right.
And when this is happening, it's okay to be in a mess. It's okay if you're getting into conflicts every now and then. It's fine, because conflicts, people are scared of conflicts. Conflicts are window of opportunity to know. You can't know a person more in their good, in their best of behavior, than you can know a person in their conflict. And I'm not saying hold that against them. I am saying lot of things can only be expressed when you are in a conflict, then when you are in a pleasant mood. And we need to I judge a relationship, and this is personal. This is a personal view, and this is not a professional view.
Uh-huh.
Giving disclaimer out there that I see a relationship after my third fight. There, like it's like people see milestones. I see third conflict as my proper, like, okay, this is the milestone I wanted to achieve. If it has withstand that, I know a person enough now. I know if I am the person that who can establish a relationship, maintain a relationship, with maintaining a relationship with myself. Can I do both the things? Being in the relationship, yes. And that decision I take after third or fourth fight, and
Okay.
that is also important.
Right. So you're saying let the other person be, let him come in with all his flaws and all his accomplishments, and uh give him the opportunity to be vulnerable, to give him the opportunity to show his real self. And his real self is not just the good parts, it's also the bad parts as well.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I think Siddharth got disconnected.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was just summarizing what you just said. This, like moving on to the next part, this is just beginning of, relationship from a context of, oh yeah, he's joined back. I'll let him. Yeah,
Mm.
Siddharth, I think you got disconnected. You can complete your question.
Yeah, so that's what it wasn't a question. I was just trying to, summarize what Kanika said. That let people come as they are, and that is that, and don't be surprised if there is a conflict, if people are, you know,
Yes, yes, and also uh, be open about how certain things are not okay with you as an individual when you are befalling it
right,
on you, because you have to work as a team.
right,
Certain things, okay, it's okay for you to be angry. Can we find a middle way where you can express your anger as well as I also feel safe, I don't get threatened? Can we
right,
come to a level? I'm not saying don't show anger, because see, if it's gonna be put in under the carpet, it's gonna blast one day. Okay, it's
right,
given. So what is the way we can come in the mid, like, do you need at usually when you're angry, what do you need? Do you need space? Have that communication, or do you want me to be around? What helps you soothe? What helps you express? People have all kind of conversation in a relationship, but it's very rarely that I've seen people having such conversation. These conversations are, whosoever listening to this, it's very important for even for a good sexual life. If you can't communicate these difficult things, you can't explore in your sexual life as well. This gives
Hmm.
you a window. Having a smooth communication, no matter how difficult the conversation is,
mhm,
opens your way to have a much more exploratory, excited, and joyful, with growth sexual life. And
right,
you kind of as a person grow out of it. People see it as only sex. It's not just that. Lot of times the trauma, whatever happened, how we see in relationships and everything, um, also our body restores. Okay, there certain things, certain dialogues we are aware of. Okay, this happened, that happened, and this happened. Okay, and we have reasons for that. But how our body felt in a particular scenario is only gonna, body have one language, body language. Like it can't speak, it can get engaged with another person, it can show gestures. And if you had fight, okay, just like you can end up having sex, but it's it cannot be, you know satisfying. It will take away your anger, obviously, because you expressed it out. Okay, but if you're telling that if you have made love, or if you have like done something phenomenal, no, it's not. Animals also do that. You haven't done anything great.
right.
And one more thing
Right.
that I want
This
to
is.
just put it here. I'm really
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Uh, Romance doesn't start in bed.
Right,
It starts the moment you open your eyes. and it starts when you actually fall, and ends and where you when you actually fall asleep. It you want to have a fulfilling relationship, you need to, this is the mantra. You can't be like, okay, I'm not having a good relationship, and the moment you get up, you go for your work, you're not even greeting your wife, or vice versa, and then you're like, you know what, I come back and she doesn't seem welcoming. Obviously you went back, you didn't seem welcoming. So
Right. The
yeah,
onus, yeah, the onus is not just on the woman, it's shared. Uh,
yeah, it's shared.
completely agreed. Moving on to the next part, right? You spoke about some of these things, but the second part, which is fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know, because me and Siddharth have actually had this debate just a few days back about the state of arranged marriages in India. And when we went through statistics, statistically 90%, 94%, if I'm not wrong, of India still gets arranged marriage, and India has the lowest divorce rates across the globe. So I specifically want to focus at the beginning part of arranged marriages. We'll get to the later parts a little bit later in the podcast, but in the beginning part of arranged marriages, at least for me personally, I had a love marriage. There was no way I would get into an arranged marriage because I just felt that I was losing power over my life. But how does someone deal with that? Boys and girls, because I think that's a very messed up phase in a lot of Indians' lives. And if you're considering 93, 94% are still arranged marriage, it's a lot. How do you deal with that entire situation as men or women and figure out what's best for you?
Mm.
We
Okay.
call it a circus.
we call
Hope to
we called it a circus, but yeah.
Uh, Statistics about, like, you mentioned, are in relation to other countries, but now, relatively from past year, India has seen growing number of divorce relatively from the past record of India itself.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Second thing is, and that is coming because people think if it's not flourishing, it's okay.
To
In
get out.
India, it's difficult to get a divorce because of cultural conditioning. Again, we need to work it through. The word divorce, saying that in itself, just, yeah,
Sure, please take your time.
uh, uh, yeah. So it itself is such a big. It's like it's worse than an F-bomb in the family, right? Like you use the word divorce. Okay, I'm thinking of uh, separating. I'm thinking of. I've seen people approaching with it with such such danger, and like as if saying the word will make it happen. Okay.
Right.
So one thing is that it could be a reason that first conditioning, that you will not believe there is increasing number of domestic violence in pandemic, and still people were expected to be in a relationship. Even there are a lot of counselors also who like a lot of clients who came to me also said that their counselor was, how can we work through it? You don't work through it. There is violence, someone is beating you up, there is no working through it.
Wow.
Okay,
Right.
there is safety there,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
one thing is that, okay, and people are recognizing that they don't have to be, and also the lowered standard, how women or men, when widowed, when divorced, their societal standards go down in lot of
Right.
other ways, in lot of unsaid ways also. Okay,
Right.
for example, a widowed cannot get whole dressed up. Okay, they can still wear um, uh, colorful clothes, but they are expected to wear dull colors. And I'm like, okay, what kind of choices that you are giving here? There is no autonomy. I don't even like dull, right? I wanted someone to stand for me so that I can wear bright color and be express myself. One thing is that. Okay, divorce is difficult in because it's expected to be. We are coming from a nation where Ram could leave Sita and ask her to do Agni Pariksha, but there Sita would have said, "How can you ask me that?
Right.
If I was away from you, you could have been away from me." But we can't do that. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that. That worked at that time. I am not saying only men are responsible. Women was like equally responsible by saying, okay, this is expected of me. I'm ready to give. There is no history. You see in history, there is no Indian character which we look out for has left her husband. Okay. So, or even men, but men there is. Okay. And it's going very female sided conversation. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to show that why divorce is difficult. Coming to the point where this is the reason that divorce are not happening, but they have increasing. And some people will not like to hear that, but I am very happy that if someone is not happy in a married life, they should opt for divorce, because it is kept, the law has kept it in a place so that people can use it. Simple as that. If it was not needed, it wouldn't have been kept there. Second thing,
Right.
coming back to your question about arranged marriages. um
Specifically at the beginning part.
yeah, okay. How what was your question again? It's how you.
So my question was men and women. This happened to me as well, where when I started, when we started building out our business and we started growing, and I was like 22, 23, it just graduated from college. My first startup was getting built. Uh, this bomb has just dropped on me that, hey, we're going to start looking for girls for you. And it was a shocker for a moment, because at least for me, I consider myself like a complete geek. I have never really explored that side of my life, and that was a shocker for me. And I had, when it was told, very quickly I made the decision that this is not the route which I'll take. And at least in my case, I ended up pursuing, well, my wife. But this bomb which gets dropped, I can see this happening to my brother right now, my younger brother, where he's a lawyer, he's building out his career, is just the first year which is done. And they have started having this conversation with him, and it's so I can see how uncomfortable he is getting on his face, and I can relate to it. I was like, damn, I was in this situation and I got lucky. I don't know what's gonna happen with him. And this is the same. I'm sure it's even worse for women. For girls, they're gonna tell them that we're gonna pluck you out of our home, out of the home, and like start looking for strangers' homes. And how the hell is someone supposed to deal with that? I
It's
got
very.
lucky. I'm sure a lot of people won't.
Yeah. And why it's difficult. Let's come to a point why it's difficult. Throughout our life in Indian context, our parents are not okay bringing someone of opposite sex. Okay. And I don't want to go to people who uh, uh, I don't want to even go to LGBTQA community, which is it's much more difficult for them. I'm not even going there. Like it's really difficult. Okay, let's come to people who are still societally normalized. Okay, again, societally normalized, because everyone is, but our society is like that, that it somehow normalizes straight people. But yeah, um then it's like they are expected to not, like, if you're talking to someone at night, if it's a boy, it's, even if you don't say anything, it's like frowned upon. Okay. And teasing, and you not, like, how many household families are you aware that, you know I know few, like one or two, that in teenage they could introduce their girlfriends or boyfriends to their family, and suddenly, with no exposure of that how am I gonna be, um, you know how I'm gonna be around a girl in front of my parents. It's not that we haven't been around opposite sex, but we haven't been around opposite sex in front of our parents because our parents never gave us that opportunity.
Yep.
Because the culture demanded that. Okay,
Mhm.
their parents expected that from them, and this is what they learned. Okay, that for no, you just concentrate on your education. Why not holistically? Okay, why can't you play, you study, you date and everything? But suddenly when we are 20, 24, 25, and suddenly you need to get married, and we have never talked about marriage. We just saw how marriage looks like by looking at our parents, and most of us don't want to end up into a marriage that our parents have. Although we know it's a healthy marriage, we don't want that for ourselves, and
Right.
suddenly this bomb is on us that, you know what, get married. And you're like, how? Like, you were saying I can't talk to boys few years back. How can I
Yep. Yep.
sleep with one now? Like, how
Yep.
suddenly I can go on dates with him? You can take courtship period. How I
Yep.
was not allowed to. I remember having a Reddit chat box, and if I'm having a conversation with someone, it's like he would look at my desktop and see that, okay, what, and suddenly it's like, you know what, you can go on dates, and we have always welcomed your friends of opposite sex. No, you didn't. Okay, and now any friend of mine comes home, it's
Yeah.
like I have to tell them, please pair mat chhona, please. Like, I know you are, son from very good family, don't do that, because then it's like suddenly no one cared. Everyone, like, earlier it used to be like, वो क्यों छोड़ने आया अब, वो छोड़ने आया था वो कौन है, like this. It's like it's a shocker that I can't deal with. Okay, and I'm saying that from a personal experience.
Right.
I am laughing like crazy because I mean Siddharth will know this. Siddharth, you've been to my home, right? Isn't this how it
Yeah.
was? But
No,
yeah,
I,
So
please continue.
yeah, so, and lot of uh, clients that I see, they come with, they like, I need 6 months, I need 1 year. And the worst part is, uh, they are coming for therapy not because they are scared that, they might not want it. They know how they want it. They don't know how to communicate that to their parents, that how dare they ask in their 25 that they want more time. And this
right,
is the point of a country, that's why, and arranged marriages are going, because this is the only way, this is
right,
expected out of us. And that's why, like, whatever the statistics says, I'm not saying it doesn't work. For certain people it does miraculously. You can't find someone for yourself, your parents say that, find that. But if that's what is only expected out of us, in a lot of families it still does, this is the only
yeah,
thing that is expected out of them. Okay, then it's not a right thing. Now, because we are growing, the world is going globalized day by day. You're sending your kids to abroad to study, but you are not taking the good things from that. Because they are taking our good things. They are taking yoga, they are taking, like, there are so many people who are learning Sanskrit there. A lot of Indians don't know Sanskrit, and they are recognizing, you know, so many things of our culture. Okay, and if we take some kind of liberal thoughts,
mhm,
just attempt to think from that perspective.
right,
What's wrong? Because, anyways, we are doing that, but with fear.
right.
Also, one more thing that I've seen, not like, I think,
So,
three,
like, what?
yeah.
How do you have this conversation also at home, whether you want, you don't? I mean, the point is this, right? This is a bomb which. So the word which you used, conditioning. The conditioning has always been opposite for both guys and girls. I feel, and this bomb is dropped. How do you deal with that situation? How do you start? Like, I was flabbergasted for a few days when I had this conversation at home. So
Thank God. If personal experience, a lot of conditioning I attempted. Used my psychological resources. Used a lot of things, understanding that it will not gonna change one day. And surprisingly, it was such a surprise, and I like it's a good surprise. I was sleeping one day in my room, and all my I have a joint family, and everyone was like talking about, what do you think about her getting married? And my father was like, she will find when she wants to find, and she will get married when she wants to get married. And I'm like, I don't want anything else. Okay. And that's
Yeah.
like, I don't know if he believes, and if he still don't get tense. My first victory was when he could say that to the society, because he can have n number of questions, n number of curiosity, n number of worries that he can discuss with me. The problem is when we are doing certain things because we have to show it to the society, and at least he understood that part of the why.
Right.
Uh, so that is how I tackled it. Usually it gets very difficult. Okay, I got lucky or whatnot. I worked. I don't know. My parents were got some kind of insight. I don't know. Okay, but this worked in my favor. Um, does that still time to time the question does keep on popping up? Yes, but it's not that scary anymore because it happens in a context of a free conversation. Okay,
Right.
so if if a kid, like you said, like how to tackle this in general, what I see is when the person you are, like your kid, you're telling that they need to get married, when they feel that they also are allowed to have a conversation back, not the argument, they
Right.
will also feel less scared. Okay, they are asking, no, not right now, I'm doing all this. They will not run away from that because they know that the conversation can bring some results. They
Right.
know that they are given a space where they can express themselves.
Right.
You know, so I think that's the communication, be it relationship, be it family communication,
Yeah,
giving that
communication
safety.
solves most of your problems in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want
Go ahead,
to,
Siddharth.
deviate a little, not deviate, but like get into this properly. I want to ask you, what are some of the weirdest problems that couples have come to you with? Like something that really stumped you over, that you thought is this is also a problem? Like some things that you never thought that couples can have as a problem, and they've come to you with it.
Mm, there is nothing, and there is, like, it could be weird for you people or anyone else, but it wasn't weird for me. Second thing, discussing it, it will be unethical.
No,
Saying that
I'm not
and
saying
giving
this
an
on purpose.
example, uh,
No,
like, yeah,
anything that
like,
one thing that you thought, what the fuck? Like even this is a problem. I'm
No,
not
so
saying that
we're not
problem
asking
is
you to,
small.
tell, okay, this couple had this problem. What Siddharth is trying to understand is this
What is the
can be
trend,
problems which you may
what's
face,
the
and it's a
trend? Okay,
problem, right? You may
okay.
not think about it as a
Lot,
problem. It's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
uh,
people ignore very small things, right? But they end up becoming big, and that becomes a problem. So,
the one thing that I have seen is like people becoming each other's therapist.
okay,
That is something that you, because when a therapist is asking you to do something, they are following that, like, or not maybe following that. In our personal life we might not be following it. We are coming from a very very different stance. We are not in a relationship with you. Okay, we are not, you're not observing us 24 hours. Okay,
right,
this is something that that fight, like how a lot of my clients are like, when you say she understands, but I say the same thing, she gets angry, and I have a problem with that. So
right,
this is the only thing, and this is the only thing that I felt weird. So be honest that sometimes I feel like, okay, after the session, I need to tell them, okay, I said and she understood, or I said he understood, because this is a safe environment. This is not a place where you're exercising these things. There's a place there where you are learning, getting an insight about all these things. So I think that, like,
So that's a
right now,
complete no-no. Like, don't be each other's therapist if you're in a
yeah, yeah,
relationship.
don't be. And
Any,
also normalize going to couple counseling, normalize going to therapy. It can be like, why it's a problem if you can go to a gym? Why not going to a therapist? It's that as simple as that.
and you
Okay.
don't necessarily need to have a problem to go to a couples
Exactly.
therapist, right? You can just
Exactly.
like you don't have to wait to have problems or conflicts. You can go before that.
Like a lot of my clients come for like, and I'm glad that our culture going through such a transformation. A lot of my clients came that I don't have anything specifically wrong with me. I'm doing good with my career. I'm happy in my relationship, but I want to grow.
Right,
And what's next? I want to be prepared for that. And can we start having session? And I think the most beautiful moment in my entire career was that when the first client like that came, and I was like, wow. And the scope increases because you're not trying to eradicate something. You are trying, finding, exploring with the client.
right.
And the limit is the sky. You
Yeah,
you can't even imagine what kind of growth people, I've seen people going through, getting, and it's beautiful to watch that. And that happened only with people who normalized it.
right. Any other big don't in a relationship? Like you said, don't be each other's therapist. Any other major big don't you think everyone should know? That don't ये तो करो ही, बिल्कुल मत करो कम से कम.
uh, one dialogue that I find, uh, it's that you want to win, right? You win, but listen to me. At that moment, you're triggering that person that, okay, this is an argument.
Right.
Okay. Few things are like, don't don't fuse it in each other's boundaries.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The person need to have their own domains which you are not a part of. Some
Right.
domains that you both work as team, and some domains that you, like, both the partners need to have different domains where they can come and discuss with you about, but you are not actively a part of, because
Right.
they need to feel that individually also they can accomplish. Because if you tie your partner in every domain,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get the evaluation how you are doing as a person.
Right.
Okay. And you anything happens, any fight happens between the couple, there is, like, you need to have a different perspective, right? How will you get a different perspective when in every perspective your partner is present?
Right. And
That
that's
is
so
very important.
important.
Yeah.
Like I see couples who, finish each other's sentences and that's all fun and cute for a while. But you realize that, their thinking, their approach towards life has become so myopic, right? It's just a one-way street and there's no growth happening there. And like you rightly pointed out, that it's important for people to, let each other have their space, grow individually, not
Yeah.
just, have your partner in every part of your life.
See, it's like, very, there's this therapist, Dr. Sue Johnson, okay, and she talks about couple, that having a couple relationship is like a tango dance.
Okay.
Okay, it's not a salsa, it's a tango, because in salsa the man has to give the cue. In tango, both have to be in the rhythm.
Right.
So it takes two to tango. Simple
Right.
as that. Like, it's not men, women, be it couple of same sex, be it anyone. You need two people who are ready to work. Even if a woman saying, okay, I'm done with it,
Mm-hmm.
you can't work no matter what it. If a man is saying, no, I'm done with it, you can't work it. You definitely need two people. You can be angry with each other, you can be, but there should be a willingness to, okay, I want to see if it goes. I want to see if it's working. It's never gonna, it can't be that, you know how Indian films shows that, okay, woman को पटाना ही पटाना है. कई बार नहीं पटाना है.
Huh.
Give her some space that वो खुद पट जाए, या फिर वो खुद, he wants to have a conversation or not. It's not that you have to be that hero who has to protect her from everything, who has to, you know, you
पटना
even
दूर की बात है, मतलब तुमसे बात भी करना चाहती है कि नहीं, वो तो पता कर
exactly
लो पहले।
and exactly and you can ऐसा भी हो सकता है तुम उसको फैंसी करा लो अपने बारे में. It can
हाँ,
like she goes head over heels for you. Okay, what next?
राइट,
She's like, okay, you, and that's your question there where you said that uh you know it's expected. uh but शुरू में सब कुछ ठीक होता है and then things get
राइट,
messy and things like that.
एग्जैक्टली, यप,
You showed her, I can get you stars, I can get you moon, I can, because उस time पे you were just chasing her, but
राइट,
that you do something that you can consistently do.
राइट,
Simple as that. Okay. And
परफेक्ट।
if uh, you fancied that and suddenly you got her and you're like, अब thank God अब मैं रेस्ट कर सकता हूँ कुछ दिन. नहीं,
हाँ,
अब
रेस्ट
जिंदगी भर you have to do the same amount of, or wait for a relationship to come to an equal level, because where you got her, it's not on an equal level.
राइट,
You got her on a plane that I will do everything for you. You just come in my life.
and that's better to avoid, right? It's better when a relationship is a match of equals rather
Yeah.
than just one chasing the other, right?
अब
Totally
एक
agree.
टायर में एक 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 गाड़ी में एक टायर बड़ा है एक छोटा है तो वो चल नहीं पाएगी.
Right,
सिंपल एज दैट.
right. Also, one last thing I want to ask, then Nikhil can take over. Uh, what are the most common problems that couples come to you with? That so that if there are other couples watching, it these problems get normalized for them. Like they feel that अच्छा ठीक है हमारे साथ ही नहीं है, बहुत लोगों के साथ भी होता है. तो सबसे ज्यादा common problems क्या है couples जो आपके पास आते हैं लेके?
मैं बोलता कुछ हूँ समझती कुछ है.
Right,
This is the most common. Like
right,
I think,
uh,
okay, before you answer as a professional, in such situation, I would say learn how to talk better, dude, or girl.
learn how
Learn
to
how to
listen
talk
also.
better.
Learn how to listen also. And sometimes, you know what? When you're saying something, when you're having a conversation, because you didn't deal with earlier miscommunication or earlier parts of where you invalidated each other, your one word or your one sentence can trigger the past conversation. So one person is already there in the past conversation which hasn't been resolved. So
okay,
it doesn't take away that you are not a good communicator. Maybe at that time that is not her focus or his focus of attention. They want to solve, okay, the time that I got invalidated, I want answer for that, but that will not be directly asked for. That will
अच्छा,
be shown in behavior. That will be shown that I don't want to talk to you, you will never understand, things like that.
right,
Okay. And here in these parts, these patterns, therapists are trained to see.
mhm,
Okay. Second, like other common problems are um, uh, conditioning. Okay. She just gave birth, and now after 3 months, we get 6 months of maternity leave, and she's going back in 3 months. And obviously, males don't get maternity leaves, which is wrong in India, but they don't. Okay,
mhm,
not the amount of like 3 months or 2 months, like few days the
mhm.
men get. So what can we do in this aspect? Okay, she wants to go. Okay, so
Wants
you
to go
need
back to
to,
work, मतलब ना?
yeah, she wants
Hmm,
to go back to work, and you can't blame her also. 3 months she's been breastfeeding, she's not going out, she's not been sleeping. She wants to enter into a domain where she could feel control.
right,
Is her need invalidated? No, it's not.
right,
It's his worry not accounted for? No. Okay, in these kind of things, um, therapists could modulate, could regulate, and find a solution. Solution of obviously every time the clients find the solution. Okay,
mhm,
but it's the amount of validation the partner need from themselves that they cannot recognize, because
mhm,
there are so many patterns beyond it. It's like an onion. There's so many layers, and you don't even know till what layer you have to reach to find a problem.
right,
And never think that your friend can be your therapist and they are the worst therapist, because they gonna take one person's side.
right,
It's why. And they would like to not. So in therapy, we don't try to always fix things, okay? Because fixing things always means that you are broken. No one is broken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we, like, this, like, this human tendency. If we have been in a um, if we have been in a similar situation or something like that, we cannot stop ourselves from giving advice, even if it
Right.
stands there, even if it matches with the context. We cannot do that. And the first thing that we people are trained is not to give advice.
Okay.
Okay. Although in Indian context, we have to sometimes uh, uh, have to, like, work around it.
Uh-huh.
I have to be authentic here, but yeah, like, mostly it's a no.
Right.
Which family members or friends cannot do that, and you will know, like, leave me saying, believing that at least once in your life, try therapy. You will know, like, you will think that a professional is like just marketing. I'm not. I'm myself planning to find a good therapist, and for my own growth. I It's a beautiful process of self growth. And when you are taking care of your skin, when you're taking care of your physical body, your hobbies, why not this? At
Right.
least once try in the life, like I try in this life. That's all.
Yep. Okay.
Moving on to my next question. This is one of the top searches actually on Google. Uh, when you search for marriage on Google India, the first highest search volume is how to get a marriage certificate. The second highest search volume is intercaste and interreligion marriages in India. So, can you talk a little bit about like how are you supposed to deal with this entire situation of, say you end up in a situation of intercaste or interreligion marriages? What's the scenario like? What are the problems? How do you deal with them? How do you have conversations with your parents? Like, how to handle that entire situation, because you hear people getting killed for this. That's just
Yeah,
sad.
yeah, it is. And one is like the fake idea of reputation, that our lineage is better than theirs, and a lot of loosely thrown statements like uh, आग- something like आगे का वंश खराब हो जाएगा, and weird things like that, which I have heard stereotypically. And the only part where people are scared, and is the culture gonna be different from your home environment, okay? And the customs that you are used to, okay, are not gonna be same, and things like that. That's the only trouble that an individual can face. But there is so many meanings attached to it by a culture that, for example, in certain families, that a woman has to wear a ghungat or something like that. In their house, they don't have to, so they are asked. Some In certain places, men has to eat first, and then only women can eat. All these things can be a cultural difference on an individual level, that an individual might have difficulty in adjusting to in intercaste or but it also gives scope for learning, changing new patterns, changing the conditioning, okay? um Second thing is, uh the idea of, like I said, fake reputation, that okay, my lineage is my lineage, I am superior and I need to kill some. I trust me, even I never understood this, okay? I don't know what is so dear to them, which is much more dear to them than a human life that they have given, that they are ready to finish it, um, for the sake of what? Having a family name that would have been propagated by that person only. You killed the person because they want to choose another name, a last name. Why? I seriously don't have any answer to that.
Interesting. And there's another thought process around this. Of course, not the same thing about intercaste, but this is a phenomenon which is there across the globe. One of my favorite s- psychologists, Jordan Peterson, has spoken a lot about this, which is, statistically speaking, and I'm not trying to judge here. I'm not trying to. Oh, okay. Just give me a second. Yeah, I think there's some disturbance on my side. Just one sec. Yeah, so I'm not trying to judge here, or I'm not trying to put someone down, but there's this entire concept specifically related to women, called hypergamy, where you're trying to marry up, which is a woman is looking to marry someone who's at a higher status of power. And this is not a direct extension of the intercaste or interreligion marriage, but I don't see anything wrong with that. I have no issues if that's how you want to pursue it. But is having some sort of preferences like that, for so that leads to my question, which is, for both men and women to have certain preferences, expectations, and things like that, healthy, unhealthy? I mean, how would you classify that?
Um, See, I don't know. Like for example, hypergamy is it's personal choice, it's of personal preferences, right? Uh, Throughout the evolution, everyone, not animals, also not mating whosoever they find, right? They also have preferences. Okay. So if humans have preferences, why it's unhealthy? Okay. When a man can have that, okay, the woman has to be less educated than me, then woman expecting that a man to, go for a man who earns more is not a problem. It's not a problem till that's not the only preference a person has. Okay, because it's not gonna satisfy all your needs from a partner. And when I'm saying needs, I mean needs of bonding, needs of attachment, needs of safe haven. Okay, only because that person is at higher status, that doesn't guarantee that. Okay, it can come from a lot of things. For example, her own insecurity, that she lived in a family where a lot of her materialistic needs were not provided, and she found that this person is interested in me, and I, like, a lot of my insecurities and my things that I saw my world could happen. Yes, go for it, but uh, that should be the only reason to get married? That could be unhealthy. If there are other things with this preference, I don't think any problem should be there in that.
Okay, sure. I think this was a very interesting conversation. I wished we had you for more time, because I have a lot more questions which we got off of top searches from Google. But this was really interesting. We'll definitely share this link with you. If someone wants to reach out to you, how can they do it?
They can usually through my social media. There is my social media page, and also lot of things about psychology, about things that we don't speak very openly about. I have an Insta page on that, and usually they mail me, and yeah, that's how they reach me.
So
Sure.
we'll
So
add
we'll
your
we'll
handles
share your
on the
social
description.
handles
Yeah,
in the description for
yeah,
anyone to
sure,
reach out to you.
sure.
And thank you so much for this, Kanika. This was a really
Thank you,
wonderful talk.
Kanika.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having
It was
me.
great. It was great.
Bye.
Bye bye.